For the LG G Flex, I have to start on the side, not on the front, not on the back, because to show you, this is the first smartphone, at least here in Europe, with that curved display over here. And that's something really new and really different, because at least LG is telling us that because of that curved form, that mic down here is closer to the mouse, so you have better voice connection, better voice sound. And especially if you're thinking of, I'm a person like this one, I'm carrying my smartphone almost always in the back pocket of my trousers. So if you're thinking, you know that curved form over here, you realize that if you're sitting with the smartphone in the pocket, you have that curved form on the first, and then it's flexible, at least for a limited part, as you can see over here, of him laying it down and pressing up here, as you can see now. It's a little bit flexible. So if you're sitting down with a smartphone in your pocket, it's not breaking, at least not that quickly, like if you would have glass substrate and glass front, and this is plastic at this time over here for the flexibility. So this is a big advantage. And as you know, of course, from the LG G2, that knock-on feature to put it to wake the phone from the sleep mode, and if you go like that, you have it over here. And the second thing I wanted to show you is if you're starting it here, here on the back, as you know from the G2, the elements down here, so it's volume and that's on-off standby, but nevertheless you won't need this one here. Just double tap, and if you're doing just like this, spreading your fingers, you're coming to this display here. As you can see you have quick mode for photos, videos, and YouTube, and that's what I wanted to show you because of that 3D animation over here. That the advantage of that curved display, at least LG is telling me, is that you have a kind of IMAX kind of viewing angle. But as long as I have tested this over here, it's just for me the size of the display, that's 6 inches, that's big, and that's making it fun, but not that curved display like you know from some TVs from LG, for example. So for my opinion, I have to be as close as this with my nose to have a significant viewing angle, but that's too close to get the sharp image. So for me, it's not a positive invention to sit that close. So I don't think that, but nevertheless, you have that flexibility, and it will stay or endure longer. At least we hope so, because of the flexibility. That's a big thing, I guess, especially in combination with the backside. That's pure plain plastic, and below that it looks like some kind of metallic effect, but just plain and flat. Nevertheless, it's covered with a plastic substrate that shall heal itself, at least if it's not a deep scratch, but just from wearing it for every day, this shall recover from itself. We will test that in a separate video, but at the moment just wanted to show you this. And so you might have the chance, at least, that this phone will look like new for at least a little bit longer than regular phones. But nevertheless, if you have deep scratches or if you let it fall, then you will have the same problems, I guess, like on old smartphones. A little bit less problems what concerns the front, because that's not glass, that's plastic too, because you have to bend it, of course. And we have a special technology for the panel itself. It's called plastic OLED or P-OLED or POLED or whatever you want to call it. And before you stop that video and saying, no AMOLED display, for me, wait, please, that's something new I will show you. First of all, for everybody who doesn't know AMOLED, that's for example, for a lot of Samsung panels displays used. the advantage of AMOLED is that the pixels themselves are glowing and not illuminated from the backlight on regular LCD. So you have great contrast. You might see it over here if I'm going a little bit closer. I have no black background, but nevertheless, I hope you can see that. That's because the contrast are so high, because dark or black pixels are totally illuminated, totally shut down, so they don't need any power, and it's not like on LCDs, it's always a little bit gray instead of black. So great contrast, that's AMOLED. Nevertheless, you have that problem on almost all AMOLED displays, that you have some diamond matrix or a pentile matrix, meaning that the pixels are not, or the subpixels, the red, green and blue subpixels are not the same like on LCD. They are a little bit more unevenly shaped and placed on the panel, and that's causing problems, especially when you have curves or small tiny text or whatever. They are a little bit unsharp, and we will have a look through a magnifier, and I'm trying at least to show you what I'm meaning, that this is not the typical AMOLED display. As you can see here, you see the subpixels red, green and blue, but they are all stripes, all the same size, all the same form, and especially placed on the matrix very regularly, so you don't have the typical AMOLED pentile matrix or whatever problems. So it's the same quality like on a normal regular LCD, but with a great contrast of OLED. So this is a great panel, at least from the technology. That could be the future, or at least I hope so, that could be the future of modern panels on smartphones and tablets. This is great. The problem is at least that we do not have full HD resolution. It's just 720 by 1280 pixels, I guess, because that's the status of the technology at the moment, at least. I guess that LG would have had a full HD panel if they were able to build one. So at least we have 245 ppi at the moment, and that's not a lot. That's, to be precise, 51% below the average, and average meaning all smartphones I've tested in the last 12 months. So the regular, the normal, actual devices on the market here. So that's not the biggest one, but as you can see, maybe let's say for example over here, that Aktualisierung, meaning last actualized on this over here. I hope you can see right now, this is really tiny text, but nevertheless you can read it without any problems. So for me, I think it's no problem to have a 720p resolution, but I know there are some buyers who want full HD, or at least the best they can get. They might have problems for buying this because it's not full HD. But for me, it's not that problem. We have other things I find much more a problem like this one. First of them, we have as you can see, you can't remove the back over here. So the battery is fixed, is inside. It's 305,000 milliampere hours, so that's a lot. Even if you have, if you compare it to the size of the display, that ratio is 5% below the average. But remind, we have OLED, so I'm pretty sure that we will get over the day with that screen and that battery. But nevertheless, you can't change it on the fly if you need it, so you have always to recharge your phone. And the even more bigger problem is, as you can see here, there's no slot for SD card, so you can't expand the internal memory, and that's 32 gigabyte only. And that's the if you compare the net size, so meaning if you take the device out of the box, looking how, or I can show you, no problem at all, as we see here, and we have that's the memory size, and as you can see here, that meaning 3, it's 23.6 gigabytes free out of the box. That's the size you have to count on, 32 plus gigabyte. That's what you can use. And that's a problem because that's a camera with shooting photos with 13 megapixels and especially shooting videos in 4K, meaning 4 times full HD, or some countries it's called UHD, Ultra HD. So this at least you will need at least 3 times more memory than on full HD. You have great sharpness, of course. I haven't tested this one, but on other phones I've seen 4K videos. They were all great, but they needed a lot of memory. And that's, I guess, especially compared to the price I'm telling you later, this is not a cheap one, as you can imagine. So I guess 32 gigabyte is a little bit too slow. I would have put in at least 64 gigabyte memory if you can't expand it for such a multimedia device. That, in my opinion, was not a good decision, especially because on all other things, the phone has really kind of everything: LTE, dual cell HSDPA, wireless LAN, Wi-Fi AC, Bluetooth 4.0, NFC, even infrared over here, so you can have infrared remote control your stereo or whatever you want to. Okay, it's Android 4.2.2, it's not at least 4.3. That's a problem with LG, we know that, but nevertheless, what is it for? What brings, let's say, Android 4.3 or 4.4, what 4.2 isn't able to do? So you can use the phone at just the way you want to, and we have a great user interface of LG I'm showing you later, so that's not a problem. But nevertheless, I wanted to say it's not from everything state of the art. Just from some points of my flagship phone, I would have had tried to plug in at least Android 4.3. But nevertheless, I wanted to share you this one over here. We know from other LG phones, of course, but I find it great because you can edit what you have over here, what kind of functions for the quick access and what kind of pictures are shown where. You have Q slide, meaning you have that pop-up overlay things over here. You can resize and everything you want to, make it a little bit transparent or whatever you want to. And especially now we have first I have to show you this one. You can, if you want to, that's not from out of the box, I did that. You can rearrange things like that keyboard over here if you want to use it with one hand, and especially because you have that yeah, here I am. We have that swipe kind of, at least we should have. Yeah, here we go. We have that swipe kind of possibility to type text, not by pressing single buttons, but by just swiping over it. So even if they are very small, the buttons over here, nevertheless, you can type. I wouldn't write all my articles on that one, but for just saying hi or thanks, I'm coming on my way, whatever, it's quite enough, of course, but nevertheless, on the big screen, this is real fun, of course. But nevertheless, I wanted to show this one. If you press for a little bit longer the back key, then you have the chance to say, for example, Chrome. Okay, and as you can see, we have a split screen. Of course, you have in both sizes, so that split screen, it's not just in landscape mode. And I know this is something we have seen on other devices from Samsung, for example. I know that's not an LG invention, but nevertheless, it's a good idea. So especially on displays with that size, this is something LG must or had to do for example. Sure. Yeah, that's something I wanted to show. And especially it's just small things like, as I told you over here, that back button, there's a colored LED below. So signaling, for example, if a caller called for several times and you didn't answer, so it's flashing red, so to signalize, oh, that could be important. Or if you're using the camera and having the timer on, it's starting slowly and going quickly if it comes to the picture. So meaning just that's some info over here, and especially it's a little bit better to realize with your finger because those two tiny things, I do not know what it's called. LG is calling it diamond cut, that whole thing over here. But nevertheless, you can now more easily than on the G2 feel where the buttons are. But nevertheless, you do not need them most times. This one just louder or less louder. So and that's a great thing we know from the G2. I do not have to explain this one for a second time, I hope so. Or you have to watch the video of the G2. Now we're coming to the price. So at least LG is calling 799 euros without any contract. That's a lot. Even if you're saying, okay, on the street the prices are a little bit lower, so let's say 750 or at least in some month 700 euros, that's still a big deal. And in some countries, for example, here in Germany, it's exclusive at the start and Vodafone. So maybe in your countries there is an operator who is having it exclusively too for quite a while. So there's a question if it's just given away with a contract. We have to see. I can't decide that. But that's really a nice device. But I guess the price will be too high for at least most of the interesting possible buyers. So I would have had made it way cheaper, but I'm not LG, so I can't just show you that thing and giving you my opinion. Yeah, unfortunately, it's like that. I can't change that. Okay, that's enough, I hope so, for the first impression of the LG G Flex. Watch the separate video for the check of that self-healing backside. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you back soon. Bye.